The Trinity and the Hypostatic Union. The doctrine of the Trinity. The Trinity is the union of three persons in one Godhead, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The hypostatic union is the union of the two natures in the person of Jesus Christ. We have his divine nature and finite human nature, his infinite and finite nature. And what are the cults' and critics' view of these doctrines? Cults often argue that these doctrines violate logic. Their issue with the Trinity is that plurality and unity are opposites. God cannot be both one and three at the same time because that's a contradiction of logic. And the issues with the hypostatic union is that infinite and finite are opposites, and Jesus cannot be both infinite and finite at the same time because it's a contradiction in logic. How can Jesus be all-knowing and not all-knowing at the same time? And how can Jesus be all-powerful and not all-powerful at the same time? The law of non-contradiction states that A cannot be both A and non-A at the same time and in the same sense. These doctrines, the doctrines of the hypostatic union and the Trinity, do not violate the law of non-contradiction. Opposites can exist at the same time if not in the same sense. Some people are both a father and a son at the same time, but not in the same sense. Napoleon was both very large and very small at the same time, but not in the same sense. The Trinity is three and one at the same time, but not in the same sense. And the hypostatic union is infinite and finite at the same time, but also not in the same sense. So let's look at the difference between a who and a what. The key to understanding the sense in which they differ is to distinguish between a personhood and nature. Your person is who you are, and your nature is what you are. They are not the same thing. The Trinity teaches that there are three persons in one nature, three whos and one what. In one sense they are three, but in another sense they are one. And the hypostatic union does not teach that Jesus' nature is a mixture of divinity and humanity, nor does it teach that Jesus was two distinct persons, one human and one divine. The hypostatic union teaches that Christ is one person with two distinct natures, one who and two whats. In one sense he is infinite in his divine nature, and in another sense he is finite in his human nature. And there's a completely different sense in which these two natures exist within Jesus. So let's look at some arguments for the deity of Christ. In John 8:58, Jesus says, "Most assuredly I say to you, before Abraham was, I am." And in the Old Testament we see God speaking to Abraham in Exodus, "I am who I am," and he says, "Just thus shall you say to the children of Israel, I am has sent you to me." So here in the Old Testament we have God calling himself I am, giving him his name to Moses, and then Jesus also calling himself the same thing. And we also see Jesus as the creator. In John 1:3 it says, "All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made." And in Isaiah 40:28 it says, "The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth." Isaiah is calling God the creator of the universe, and John is also calling Jesus the creator of the universe, because nothing was made without Jesus. And let's look at an argument for the deity of Christ for Jehovah's Witnesses. In Isaiah 44:6, God is called the first and last. And this is from the Jehovah's Witnesses Bible. This is what Jehovah says, "The King of Israel and his repurchaser, Jehovah of armies, I am the first and I am the last. There is no God but me." And Jesus, in Revelation 1:17-18, calls himself the first and the last. That passage says, "When I saw him, I fell as dead at his feet. And he laid his right hand on me and said, 'Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last and the living one. And I became dead, but look, I am living forever and ever, and I have the keys of death and of the grave.'" So in the Jehovah's Witnesses' own Bible, Jesus calls himself the first and the last. God is called the first and the last. They're one.